My name is Alicia Powell, and I'm the co-founder of Champions for Philanthropy. We are so excited to present today's event and have a conversation around how athletes are finding ways to make an impact. At Champions for Philanthropy, we assist professional athletes and other influencers with their charitable endeavors. Everything from helping athletes start their nonprofit foundations to managing existing foundations. And because having a nonprofit isn't right for everyone, we also assist with creating various charitable projects and initiatives, connecting our clients with existing nonprofits, and developing a strategy for giving. Today's topic is for athletes who are looking to learn which method of giving back is right for them, whether it's working with a nonprofit, philanthropy, or serving as an ambassador for large nonprofits. Now more than ever, Champions for Philanthropy wanted to give athletes a more accessible way to give back than ever before. We created the Athlete Resource Center, or CFP-ARC, a nonprofit arm of Champions for Philanthropy, to help athlete-founded nonprofits receive support in a more accessible and efficient way. So today's topic is of particular interest to us. If you would like to learn more about the Athlete Resource Center, you can follow us on social media using the handle Champions for Philanthropy or visit cfparc.org. That's cfparc.org. And now I'll turn it over to my co-founder, Michelle Mays.
Thank you so much, Alicia. And thanks to everyone who's joining us today. We are really looking forward to this, which is sure to be an engaging conversation as we further explore how athletes can make impact. I have the honor of presenting our moderator for today's discussion, Dr. Daniel Kelly. Dr. Kelly joined the Preston Robert Tisch Institute for Global Sport at New York University's School of Professional Studies as the Academic Director of Graduate Programs and Clinical Associate Professor as of August 2019. Dr. Kelly was formerly the Faculty Director and Associate Professor of the Practice for Sports Industry Management program at Georgetown University. He holds a PhD in Sports Management from The Ohio State University and an MS in Sports Studies and a BS in Business Management from Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. Dr. Kelly, we are so pleased to have you join us as a moderator today, and now I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Alicia. Today is a very exciting day. On behalf of Champions for Philanthropy, I'm here to present as the moderator the three panelists for today's discussion. First, we'll start with Batouly Camara. Batouly is a professional basketball player who founded the Women's and Kids Empowerment, which is known as W.A.K.E, a US-based nonprofit corporation serving teen girls and young women from Guinea, West Africa. In addition to being a former Division I basketball player at the University of Connecticut, she's the 2020 Billie Jean King ESPY Award winner, and as well as the author for A Basketball Game on Wake Street. Most recently, Batouly was named one of Forbes' top 30 under 30 professionals for 2021. Welcome, Batouly. Next, we're introducing, of course. Next, we're introducing Derek Anderson. Derek is a graduate of the University of Kentucky who went on to play in the NBA for 11 seasons. Derek was the 13th NBA lottery pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers in 1997 NBA draft. In addition to winning an NBA championship in 2006 with the Miami Heat, Derek started an initiative in the community called Project U, which is designed to show the truth about the reality for students, preventing bad situations, and overall serving as a resource for the community. In addition to Project U, Derek also started Acts of Kindness, which is a school program that teaches students how to act and how to build out life skills and crisis management for youth. Welcome, Derek. And then lastly, Tony Orr. Tony Orr is the Regional VP for the Southeast region for the Boys and Girls Club of America. Tony Orr has assisted in bringing in the largest gift ever for the Boys and Girls Club of over $10 million and has been a spearheaded leader for the Boys and Girls Club golf tournament in Charlotte, which has raised over $1 million to date. Welcome, Tony. All right, so now we jump into our first question, which is really exciting. I want to go to each of you and give you a chance to speak about your background and some of your exploits and your growth and what are you doing today with your programming. So we'll start with Batouly.
It is an absolute honor to be here today. And thank you so much for everyone who's taken the time to join, I think, such an important conversation. I always start with my roots. I'm a native New Yorker, first generation Guinean. And I think so much formed throughout those years and led me to playing basketball and to now starting W.A.K.E and having an amazing turnaround. And just to keep it short, as I know we have a great program ahead. At the moment, we're working to renovate a few courts in Guinea and working to build the first indoor basketball court and safe space for young girls. That has been a dream project of mine, as I know sport transformed my life, but it was more so the spaces that created sisterhood and those lasting memories. So that is a project we're currently working on, near and dear to my heart, and I'm so excited about that.
Great, we'll go to Derek next.
Thank you all for all that you do. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Grew up a couple of blocks from Muhammad Ali in project housing, and just seeing how he motivated us as a young group. I've always taken kind to what he always told us growing up. He said, treat the janitor like you treat a millionaire. And I think that kept me humble, kept me successful, like going through life, and just seeing able to see someone like that in the neighborhood taught me when I made it that, you know, I need to stay visible in the neighborhood. So I created Program You and saying you are your own entity. You are who you put yourself in front of. So just thankful that I was able to be successful in life and in sports and do more than just play basketball and retire. I was able to use my platform for other things. And our Program You is based upon acts of kindness. We need to teach common courtesy more than just a book. It's about people skills. It's about polite. It's about being a man or a woman of character. So I'm just excited to be here and looking forward to the conversation.
All right, thank you, Derek. Move next to Tony.
Good afternoon, and it's a pleasure to be here, and just thank you for putting this opportunity together. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, and have been with the Boys and Girls Clubs 16 years, and had the pleasure of it as in my childhood to go to the Boys and Girls Clubs. My parents divorced at an early age, and my grandmother needed a place for me to go, and ironically was the Boys and Girls Clubs, and to now be a part of this organization and giving back not only to my community, but to communities across the country. It's truly been a blessing from God, and just thankful for the opportunity that I have each and every day. So even though some people call it work, to me, it's just my passion and my calling right now in life.
All right, great. Thank you, Tony. For our first question, we're gonna put out to the entire panel. How do you use your platform for good? And I guess we'll start with Batouly and Derek as far as your platforms, with your social media platforms for your nonprofits.
I think that is such a great question, especially the day and age that we're in today. Using my platform really came when my first trip to Guinea in 2017, after being surrounded by a group of young girls and they're following me on social media. And I remember one of the girls said this line that stung my heart. She's like, "I see myself in you." And that's what I wanted to be. She's like, you know, this is real, this is tangible. And I've seen you now. And that was the name of my TED Talk, Seeing is Believing, a Mirror of Hope. And that is exactly what it was. You know, we are mirrors looking into each other's lives, seeing a younger version of myself and her seeing, you know, her dream through me and having that now become a reality. And so at that moment, it made me very intentional about what I posted and how I use social media to create impact, because you don't have a platform for long. But if I can give a voice to the voiceless, and if that girl can feel and see her story through me being amplified in many spaces, then I've done my job. And I constantly think about that. And so that's how I started to use my platform. And from there, connecting with many other people who are doing the same thing. But the message always stays the same, to amplify her voice, to amplify her story, and to use this time wisely, because you don't have it forever. So that's how I've tried to, and throughout my organization, but it's a day-to-day thing, and living authentically allows me to do that. And I'm thankful for those who support and those who follow, because I always say, you know, together we rise, and that's all we have to lean on.
You know, I'm really glad you mentioned your TED Talk, because I watched it in part of my research, and I saw a fantastic opening story about young Guinea women, you know, growing up with only two options, to be a wife or a domesticated worker. And the fact that your personal story, you talked about seeing more than that by being able to see a woman basketball player and seeing that as an option. Can you speak more to that story?
Absolutely. I just remember I had such a breakdown at the age of 14. I was at W.A.K.E Academy. I'm at boarding school, and I didn't know why I was there. And at that moment, I didn't see any identity outside of getting married or being a domesticated worker. Again, high regard, but that was all I ever saw. And, I felt like my talent would only take me so far, but this was what I was here for, because that was constantly told to me and programmed to me. And at that moment, I had an amazing coach who told me, you're more than that. You're more than a basketball player. And I want this space to be a place for you to fail. And it was just a word, it was a conversation, but it freed me in so many ways. It frees me of the chains that we kind of, hold to ourselves, and what our communities tell us is success. And at that moment, that was freedom. And I said, okay, how can we use sport and these spaces to create freedom, and the freedom to dream? How can you see a situation and say, I'm going to speak life into this, beyond the realm of my reality? And I think that's what sport offered me to do.
All right, good. So take me through your story then. So you had this epiphany at 14, and then you started a nonprofit.
5. Honestly.
I mean, so you have this this awakening moment, and then of course, you're in college at UConn, and then you decide to start the nonprofit, which is fantastic. And so, what led you to feel the passion to actually turn it from creating spaces to actually showing up and putting it into action?
There was a young girl I met during my first trip. Her name was Bintu, and she was 7 years old. And this was the hardest worker that I knew. She was at the gym before everyone. And the reason why she was at the gym, I'm trying to be quick. The reason she was at the gym was she would sell little juices, and she wouldn't be able to go home until she finished selling juices. But she was there every single day because we would work to purchase juices so that she can stay and train in a dress and sandals. And she was killing everyone. And I just remember leaving there, and she told me, she looked me in my eyes, she said, I'm better than you. And I can be better than you, but I need the access, I need the resources, I need the opportunities to fight for my dreams. I need that. And I said, if I do anything, I know I needed that. I had mentors. I went to a Boys and Girls Club. I had mentors and people who did it for me. And, the saying, I am because we are. And it never felt like giving back. I don't use that term. It felt like I was giving in. It felt like an extension of myself. It felt like what I was here to do. And I had a conversation with my coaches, and they just said, make sure you take care of yourself. Mind you, this at UConn, and they're like, make sure you take care of yourself, but we can't stop you from doing what you feel like you're here to do. And that is exactly what I set out to do. And I haven't looked back, because she still needs a place to play. She still needs access, resource, and opportunities to fight for her dreams, because I had a chance, and I can't even say my life is short of a blessing.
I definitely appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that amazing story. Up next, we'll go to Derek. Derek, for the same question, how do you use your platform for good? I'm actually a holder of one of your books. So of course, Stamina is a great book, and it tells a lot about your story, and it tells a lot about what you overcame to become where you are. So can you tell us more about your story of how you use your platform for good?
The quick version, abandoned by a dad at 10. He was in the military, had a rough life, street guy. 11 years old, I come home to an empty apartment. I was turning 12 that year, but you wonder what happens at 11-year-old to an empty apartment, and for no reason at all. Wasn't a bad kid, did well. So when I come home to empty, to no parents, all I could do was say, how do I survive at this age? Working at a grocery store, asking to carry people's bags for 5 or 10 cents. And the story that got me was everybody was hustling, trying to ask for money. And all I did was smile and say, hey, can I carry your bags? And everyone started giving me the bags. Say, hey, you look like you're a nice guy. And after that, I said, oh, all I got to do is be nice to make it. And that stuck with me to the rest of my life. They said, if you just do the right things and be nice to people, people will help you out. So at that age, I survived. 15 years old, I was living on my own, other people's houses all the way up till I was 14. I wound up sleeping in a gymnasium, which later became named after me in my high school gym. And the janitor told me I could stay at my house. He was an older Black man. And he told me, I'll help you out. I dated his stepdaughter. She gets pregnant. She was 3 years older than me at the time. The next month after my son was born, she was arrested for shoplifting. Then I'm a single dad for almost 2 years. Worked 2 jobs after school, candy store, paper routes. I worked jobs, never sold drugs, never did drugs. And all I did was work hard. Then I graduated with a class president, got a free scholarship. And basketball wasn't what I believed in the most. It was just a blessing that God gave me. I believed in working hard. And that was from the time that I was 11 until the time that I'm now. And I think that was just a character and a habit form that I created. So for me was, how do I teach the next generation to not fall into the society trap of, I got to fit in. I didn't wear the best clothes. I didn't have the best shoes, but I had character. People respected me because of who I was, not because of what I did. And for me, that was the key point the rest of my life as a young man, is people respected me for who I was. So I never got out of control with my fame, my money, my success. I always stayed humble because that was character. So for me, was teaching young people character. So if they come to Tony Orr's Boys and Girls Club, he doesn't have to retrain them. They come in ready to go. And that's what I wanted them to do from the start, that they go to schools, colleges, workplaces. You need to be trained when the world hits you, because it's not fair. But they want to make every excuse that they possibly can. And that starts from the reality that people don't tell them. I tell them the truth, and they ask me, well, what makes you know the truth? Is because it's called life. There's no blueprint to it, except that if you work hard, you do the right things, life will treat you that way. And I truly believe that. Sometimes it doesn't, but that's part of it. But you do the best you can. And I've just been fortunate enough to actually stay on the top where I can actually be effective. And I wanted to be Michael Jordan, but I never wanted to be Michael Jordan. And that's a big difference.
That's a very big difference. You're right. You're right. Let's kind of expand upon it a bit. So, you went from Louisville to Columbus, Ohio, to Ohio State, and then from there you went to University of Kentucky in Lexington, won a championship, get drafted to the NBA. And as you mentioned before, even though you're having all of this success, you still keep to your core values. Now, during this time, did you have any mentors that helped you to succeed, that you were able to bounce ideas off of or continue to build as you were figuring out your platform or the man you wanted to be?
Well, I used my Uncle George, who was a good platform. He was kind of an older person in our family that I kind of connected with later in my life in high school. But I used all the people around me that were positive. There was a school teacher. There was a janitor. There was just a working person who gave me a job at the candy truck, Mr. Whiteside. Like, I used the people that were around me. Remember the village, it takes a village to raise a child? That's what helped me, the village. The village actually taught me how to tuck your shirt in, young man, keep your eyes up, be respectful. Now parents and adults don't say anything to kids. And I wanted to make sure that I addressed the parents, I addressed the children, I addressed the workforce. And I tell them, there's a difference in me walking in a job and saying, I would like a job, or I say, yes, sir, I would like a job. I'm gonna get hired because you like me, not because you have more degrees or you got the best education. It's because I trust you to be a good person. And people laugh when I tell them, I said, I go to Chick-fil-A more because of the customer service. Like, when I know I'm going to get a smile, and it makes me feel better. Like, no disrespect to other places, but I'll go to Chick-fil-A just so I want to smile, because I know they're going to be nice to me. And I think that's what I try to instill in my young people, is because when I went to Ohio State, I was going to the University of Louisville, but the coach told me, he didn't tell me if he's redshirting me. So I chose to go to Ohio State. Broke my heart that I didn't play for my hometown, but that was an adjustment. I tore my left ACL up, and I transferred to sit out of Kentucky. I won a national championship. My senior year, I tore my right ACL. Yeah. So I'm thinking, like, I go through a lot of drama, but I'm built for this. I've maintained a mentality and the habits of work hard. I worked hard, got a Jordan contract, so I played 11 years in the NBA, like, I survived because I worked hard. Not because I was just gifted, it's because I worked hard. I didn't have anything handed, I just worked hard. So for me, was going through those things in college, it taught me I still had the same habits, where be a good person, work hard, see what happens.
I definitely appreciate that. Thank you for sharing your story. Next, for Tony, we're looking at the, how does your work with the Boys and Girls Club of America, how are you able to promote the principles, the platforms, the learning lessons? I myself, I went to the Boys and Girls Club, just like Batouly, just like Derek as well. In the Bronx, New York, the Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club. So I know the values very well. So how do you use your platform with the Boys and Girls Club to help the community?
Well, thank you for sharing. I didn't know you attended the Boys and Girls Club, but I'm very familiar with the Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club in New York, and welcome to the family. But, we try to use a lot of the things that Derek talked about, the characteristics of ensuring that young people are successful. That's what we try to do each and every day at the Boys and Girls Clubs. And we serve about 4.7 million kids a year across 1,100 facilities. And there's three character traits that we really try to instill in our young people each and every day. Academic success, because we want to make sure when young people come to a Boys and Girls Club, they have a plan for the future, and they also graduate from high school on time. Number two is good character and citizenship. Derek talked about that. I think telling young people your word is all you have, high character, following through, if you say you're going to do something, do it. And so we try to make sure that we have staff that model those core behaviors. And then the last is good character and citizenship. So we want to teach young people at an early age the importance of giving back to their communities. And so when you have a platform like today with athletes that have their own nonprofits and have different initiatives, and they want to give back in their communities, when they partner with organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs, it inspires young people that may never have an opportunity to see these individuals if it wasn't for that Boys and Girls Clubs. And then it also teaches them the importance at an early age of giving back and making a difference in service to others.
All right, great. Now, and also, Tony, you led an initiative to bring in a $10 million gift to the Boys and Girls Club, which is the largest gift ever in the 155-year existence of the organization. You mentioned earlier offline that it was a team effort. Now, how did you lead your team to be able to earn this type of reward, this type of gift for the community?
Well, my team at Boys and Girls Club of America, I mean, they're great, and they're all passionate, and they all believe in the mission, and that is to help any young person, regardless of gender or race, that comes through the doors of a Boys and Girls Club. And we were very fortunate to have a donor, a former board member, but he was very passionate about the work of Boys and Girls Clubs. And one day we were having lunch, and he shared with me, he said, "Tony, my goal in life, I've been very blessed. I've made millions and millions of dollars." He said, "but my goal in life is to give every dollar I have in my account away while I'm still alive, but to give it to nonprofits that are making a difference in the lives of boys and girls, in the lives of kids." And it just so happened that, he was passionate about Boys and Girls Clubs. And, it took about 3 years to get everything done. But, he made that contribution to Boys and Girls Clubs. And it was to give access for kids to go to a Boys and Girls Clubs, to strengthen our technology programs, and then to make sure that we had the resources across the country to help kids be successful.
Yeah, it's an amazing story, and 3 years shows perseverance, grit, it shows undying efforts towards the goal. So I definitely appreciate it. I'm going back to the top. I want to get a chance to talk to Batouly about using basketball as a platform to improve your social good. Do you have any stories about using basketball as an instrument for social good?
Yes, I think sport is just a microcosm of life, and everything that we do, and who you are, and who it turns you to be. And one story is when I went to India for a month again. This was during my junior year of college, and it was an amazing trip. And at this school, I was able to partner with an organization called Dribble Academy. And at this school, they were able to train kids to play basketball, sunrise to sunset. And then in the evenings, they would go and they would learn a craft. And so the girls would learn, they take English classes, whether you're there as a teacher, you teach English classes. And then at the same time, this would allow them to then go out and find jobs in their community. And again, if you can speak English, they would go from making $3 a month, their whole family, to now $10 to $15 a month, because they spoke English and they were learning these things through basketball. So you kind of pick up language through play. We look at play as something that's just, aimless, but it's so important if you do it intentionally. And that was what this program did. And I was so helpful to be there to work through that programming and the amazing work that they're doing. So that is one thing I would say, the impact of sport, on a community and changing the trajectory of lives.
Oh, great. So I've done quite a bit of work in India. Which cities were you in? I've done work in Delhi, Bangalore, as well as Chennai. So where were you?
Yes. I went to Delhi and then Noida. Agra 4, you have to go to the Taj, You gotta go to Taj Mahal. But yes, it was amazing.
All right, good, good. I want to switch over to Derek, and it's the same question. How has basketball still been a part of the way you do social good?
It's gotten me in the doors that I probably would take longer to get in. And I think I utilize that more than I do for some kind of trade-off. Like for me, it's like, I want to say, hey, Derek wants to come in and speak to kids for free, or share my book with them and teach them to write their own book. So I kind of utilize the success that I've had. If you tagline say, hey, NBA champion or college champion, people open your emails. If you just say, hey, this is Derek Anderson trying to help, they be like, never mind. So I pay attention to what kind of moves the needle, and I try to utilize that and try to connect with a lot of people, like yourself. Like we've connected through various people, and it's like you just want to reach out to people and connect. I'm not the lazy type that says, hey, I'm Derek Anderson, just you should reach out to me. I reach out to people. So I just continue to push the envelope and seeing how I can connect with other people because of who I am. And basketball is just an avenue. It's like if you have a degree, that's your selling point to get places you need to be. I think we don't use that enough in the right resources. Don't tell me I want to do a party for me. Tell me you want to connect me with a group of people like you all that we can impact the world. I think we need to utilize it in a good way. So I just try to use my connectivity through my titles and my success and all those things that I've done, just connect with everybody I possibly can.
All right, thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. Moving next to Tony. Maybe not so much basketball, but I want to talk about your golf tournament. Your golf tournament is wildly successful, and you've been able to raise upwards of $1 million so far for the golf tournament for the Boys and Girls Club of Charlotte. Please tell me more about using this golf tournament to enact social good.
Sure. So, and we have numerous golf tournaments across the country, but for me, I had the opportunity. Our CEO had shared with me, he wanted to expand in the Charlotte market and in North Carolina. And being from Charlotte, I felt like I owed that to my community to give back. And so I was, inspired and excited about doing a golf tournament, especially in the city where I'm from. And we started the golf tournament about 3 years ago, and every year it's been great. I mean, we've expanded. It's been a sellout the last 3 years. Due to COVID this year, we had to cancel the tournament, but it's been great. I mean, we've had a lot of different athletes and entertainers participate and play along with the sponsors. And so it's been a blessing for the Charlotte community. And with those funds that we've raised, we've been able to employ more staff to actually work at the local Boys and Girls Club in Charlotte. We've also been able to provide 2 technology centers in the past 3 years. So kids have access to better technology and personal laptops for about 50 kids in the last 3 years as well. So it's been a great tournament. And again, all the funds that have been raised has really helped us to improve our programs and operations in Charlotte.
All right, great. Thank you. I'm going to go a bit out of order now, so we'll stay with Tony. I want to talk about the meaningful relationships that you're building through your work, whether that be the mentorship on your team or the work you're doing in the community or the sponsors and the endorsers for your golf tournament, meaningful relationships that you've been able to build now during this time.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would just say it all boils down to trust, because individuals, corporations, they want to make a difference in the lives of kids, and we have to build trust that we're good stewards of the dollars and time that people provide to the organization. And I'll say that's been the number one thing. And then just identifying, we've been around for over 160 years as an organization. So, but just identifying the right individuals to get involved with our mission. And a Boys and Girls Club, a local organization or the national organization, we cannot be successful without having good partners. And again, we just believe in building solid relationships based off trust and building great programs and with outcomes that are successful, showing the rate of young people being successful when they come to a Boys and Girls Club.
I definitely appreciate that. Next for Derek, you mentioned earlier about your mentors and just the overall leadership that you had in your life, the father figures from the janitor at your school to the owner of the candy store. What made you trust them? Because I think trust at this point, from what Tony just mentioned, is a big issue in the Black community. And so what made you trust them at the time when you were so vulnerable as a youth?
Well, it's two things. They were honest. They told me when I was messing up. They told me how I should carry myself. They actually gave me positive information, and they actually were living that way. Like I trail some of these athletes who are on social media, like you can't tell me you have a foundation, yet you're cussing, you're wilding out, you're doing crazy stuff on social media, but you want a kid to decipher which person you are. I've been on social media since 2012, and I've never said a cuss word. I've never said anything in a derogatory way at all. And it's been 8 years that they can't help it because they don't know. Some people haven't taught them the realities of truth. And for me was, I believe those men because they were honest with me and they live that way. So when I would go to the candy store, I see him with his family. I see him being polite. I see him saying, yes, sir, to another man. And he, even though he was older, he was still respectful of that man. You can't say, say be respectful, yet you're out here pulling guns and drinking and smoking and wilding out on social media. Now, what you do in your own home is what you do. But when I believe those gentlemen, because they showed me that. The janitor didn't have to tell me he'd take me home and help me out, but he's done that for other guys there. Like I wasn't the first guy he's helped out. Like the young man, everybody say, oh, Mr. Such and Such he's a really cool dude. Like that was who he was known for. So I trusted him. And I think today this young generation don't know who to trust. And it's because they're getting mixed signals. So for me, is I am who I am. So I'm going to show you that. Some people might perceive you as, hey, he's not thug and he's not this. I want to be happy. And I want these young kids to be happy. And our young Black men, they need to know you don't have to rap or sing or do something in sports to be successful. And I would introduce them to a Tony in a minute. Like, hey, look at this guy. He's doing what he's doing. You can do that too. Who's doing his paperwork? Who's doing his paperwork? Who's being his attorney? Who's designing the artwork for Tony? Who's doing this for Batouly? Like, who's doing other things to have a job? Like, everyone wants the quick success, but I teach them success comes in happiness and being able to take care of yourself. So I trusted those men, and I want to be someone these young men can trust.
All right, thank you, Derek. Next for Batouly, I want to get your perspective on this as well for meaningful relationships. And in particular, I want to hear more about your experience at UConn, because at UConn, you went to 3 Final Fours, you found a wild level of success, a very high level success. And you mentioned in your story earlier that they still understood who you were as a person and your light. Now, how did that situation come about where they were able to see that you had more than just basketball in your mind and they were willing to focus on giving you the support you needed?
I'll first say what Derek said, such a powerful statement. They showed me. And I think that was the first key to having them trust me is they saw the passion, they saw the work, but I was also very diligent in scheduling. I recently posted my schedule on social media. Everyone's like, you do that every day? I was like, I do that every single day. And I'm thankful that boarding school allowed me kind of that discipline. And the way that I navigated college, you would never know what I was doing. Just in the spirit of transparency. And I think that's how it should be. If I'm in the gym, you would never know that there was life outside of the gym. And I think that's how it should be, just being able to fully and presently show up in one space. And so having them understand that, I was still going to get the extra shots. I was still going to be in the gym. This was my main thing. But this was a piece of my heart that I was now exploring that I couldn't turn off. It was not a 9 to 5. It was a 24/7 because I felt like I was seeing myself. And I couldn't stop, and as time passed by, that was a motivation. And I think they saw the positive impact that it had on me. And these were conversations where I remember that first trip to India, I had to bring them a folder to my coaches, and they're like, why do you want to go? And at that time, I was planning a trip to India, to France, and to Guinea, where we all had successful camps with over 50 kids who had holistic development workshops, goal setting, basketball for a week long. And they said, why do you want to do it? And I remember I gave them like this big of a folder, and they said, okay, we understand. But it never took away from what I was doing, because it was absolutely clear when you're competing at the highest level, it takes mental, physical, emotional commitment, but this was a part of my life that brought me absolute joy. And like I said, it never felt like work. I was never going to work. This was just constant ways of like igniting my soul in what I did. And I think it was absolutely clear to everyone around me. And they supported me by allowing me to do that. It could have been stopped, no, don't. But I think just being able to see that, to allow me any kind of platforms, marketing, they allowed that. and then have to as we're competing at the highest level. And to some would say that's a successful career. To others, could have won a chip, so it depends, but still working on that part. It's too soon. It's still too soon.
Yeah, I definitely get it. What I'm hearing from the common themes is this altruistic feeling to help the community. That it's not just one thing for you to find success, but to let other people find success who can use you as a role model or you can support throughout those ways. Throughout this time with COVID-19, I mean, how have you been able to maintain your energy, maintain your message and your passion for philanthropy? I know, Tony, this is what you do for a living, and Batouly and Derek, this is a part of who you have become as civic-minded leaders. But how are you maintaining through all of the restrictions from COVID-19 and the pressures from society? We'll start with Derek.
Well, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I've been that way for a while, so I've always just been in the neighborhoods. Like, I see my impact comes from how other people impacted me, and no one was born here on your own. Like, you didn't choose to be born. So I tell people, when you're on earth, you shouldn't think of yourself as one person. You should think of yourself as a group. And that group is the people you'll surround yourself with, where you come from, where you live, who you work with. Like, be impactful wherever you go. So for me was, if I was on a basketball team, I wanted to let everybody know how I felt about my spirituality. When I go to certain kids, I want them to let them know where I come from. If I'm in a business group, I want to let them know what I've done to get to this point. I've always tried to impact the people I'm around. So even with COVID, all I did was continue to network with people via social media, via emails. I'm with the Dragonfly company that's helping with COVID detector. So we're helping people stay open in their facilities now. And I'm just trying to find ways to navigate. I don't complain, I compete. And that's the difference. Like, you're gonna do one thing or the other. With me, I don't complain about anything. All I do is find another way to compete and just continue to move forward, push the needle, getting these young people to think different. And I reach out to athletes and try to change their mindsets too. I've had some guys that had crazy stuff on their social media, and I've had to talk to them and walk them off the ledge, and they have to erase some of the stuff, and they've done it, and it's helped them. And no one's ever said that to him. And they're hanging over 30 dudes who would not tell him, man, you shouldn't post that.
Yeah.
And I think that's the significant part for me, is reaching out to people that maybe not listen to me, but it's still my job to reach out to them and see if I can help.
Yeah, definitely like that. I will go to Batouly next.
In regards to, just want to get the question in regards to right now.
Right now with COVID-19 and maintaining your passion. Yep.
Absolutely. I would say, again, it just feels like an extension of who I am and the work that I do, and constantly thinking of my girls who called me. I just remember, like, our season ending, last year, and all the girls like, oh my God, your season. And it's like there were bigger things happening at that moment. And there was one quote, that I heard for those who may be impoverished, when things like this hit, it only becomes worse. And so we quickly, for me, I quickly switched to flip and anyway, whatever, won't get into that. Switched it and began thinking, at the end of the day, we all hear more than an athlete, but these are human beings. And so outside of programming, I'm so thankful and so proud of our organization being able to distribute 5,000 masks and provide food and PPE to over 40 families in the community that was really hit the hardest in Guinea. So for me, that was just, now we're at a human level. This is the core. This one's important. You're not thinking about sports when you want to eat, when you're just trying to survive. And so I'm really thankful of how we've been able to kind of combat that and do what we can, because it definitely takes all of us. So that's kind of how we did it during this time.
I definitely agree. And then for Tony, the same question: how have you been able to maintain your passion, maintain your team, and your vision during COVID-19 restrictions?
Yeah, so one, I would say my faith. And when COVID first started, someone reminded me, they said, Tony, God put you not where you're comfortable, but where you're needed. And taking that into consideration, growing up in a Boys and Girls Club, not having my father around, there's a huge need now more than ever for kids to have access to food, to meals. During COVID-19, we've seen an influx of kids not being able to have resources at home because parents may have lost their jobs. So that's an inspiration for me each and every day to ensure that the kids that we can impact have a hot meal every day. Technology, most schools are virtual throughout the country. And so just working hard with individuals in our corporation and partners to ensure that kids have technology or access to a Boys and Girls Club during the school day, that they can come in and still be successful in the classroom.
All right, thank you, Tony. Next, I'm going to switch gears to talk about the NBA bubble before we get to the Q&A. Derek, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the NBA bubble, the platform, the social justice initiatives, and just everything that was happening around the return of basketball over the summer?
I thought it was excellent. I thought we've got a chance to voice our opinions. We got a chance to, put the pressure on people to make impact change. Tony said something real deep, and, like God puts you where he wants you to work.
Yeah.
I think those guys had to go to work so they could make their voices heard, like sending stuff on certain Twitters, and like some NBA fans stopped watching basketball because of what they were doing, but that was good because of the other people who did watch, they still got to see what the purpose was. So we got something out of that, and I thought it was great. I look at every opportunity we get to make a change, do it. So long as you're not disrespecting anything or anybody, I think we got an opportunity to make change, and I think they did. They stood up for what they believe. They changed people's thoughts. Some guys who thought differently, thought one way, changed their thoughts after what we did. Yeah. And I think that's the good thing about what we did was we created change because we showed change. And not just talking, but when you show unity and you show you're standing together, that makes a difference. And I was proud of those guys.
Oh, great. And then for Batouly, to build off of what Derek just said, more than just, creating spaces, but actually showing the effort. What do you believe is going to be the outlook of professional athletes, specifically the NBA players and the WNBA players who are, really advocates for Black Lives Matter moving forward?
I think it was just amazing to witness. And that was something that I really focused and studied during grad school, was the impact of sports in life. Again, sport as a microcosm for life. And we've seen sport change nations, go to, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, and just these impactful moments that we've had across the Olympics. And for athletes to do this at this time and space, it was refreshing, it was necessary, and it was just great to witness and to see, because when you're a united front, we are stronger together. And I say together we rise. And I think that was at the forefront in telling people, who I am doesn't stop when I'm on the court. It's only amplified. And I can't step on a platform that doesn't support me and who I am at the core, and those who I represent, my communities who are behind me. And my favorite quote is, I stand as one, but I come as 10,000. And by you trying to diminish who I am, you're silencing 10,000 Black, Muslim, first generation, Guinean, Native New Yorker, and women. And so that's how I see it. And so for them to take that stance of, this is who I am at the core, and this is how I want to live authentically, doing what I love, in a great way, in a positive light, what wrong can come for that? So to see this change, I think it's only going to get better, and I'm just excited for the future.
Oh, thank you, Batouly. I appreciate that. For Tony, you are the leader of thousands of members of youth in the Southeast region for the Boys and Girls Club. But what was the impact of them seeing professional athletes standing up for themselves and having a voice for advocacy through the Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, I mean, it means a lot. I mean, first of all, let me say, if I could have, these two individuals that's on this platform today, I mean, if we can just clone them, my job would be much easier across the country. So let me say that. But, just in these neighborhoods where a lot of our kids grow up and they come from, it means a lot to see athletes use their platform and to let these kids know that their voice matters, and for them to take to social media or giving their time just to be vocal about the things that we're experiencing in our community. And so I think for us, we always see that when athletes actually are in person at a local club or at an event where kids can see them, it gives them inspiration and it gives them hope. And a lot of kids can't control the environments that they're born into or the environments that they live. But if they have inspiration, like the people you see on this panel today, these two athletes, I mean, that gives them hope and opportunity. And I think that's one message that the Boys and Girls Club provides to young people every day, is that you can be anything in this world you want to be, regardless of your background, regardless of your zip code, where you come from. You have to believe in yourself, and my job is to ensure that we put the right leaders and role models around young people, so they can dream big.
I definitely appreciate that. At this time, we're going to move to the question and answer period from the audience. The first question, when it goes to back to Tony, why is the relationship between Boys and Girls Clubs and athletes important in your role?
Yeah, great question. And I think I just spoke a little bit to it, but you have so many athletes that are successful that got their first start at a Boys and Girls Club. But again, I would say that young people can resonate with athletes, but in the game of sports, there's so many life lessons that come out of that: leadership development, teamwork, being on time for practice. So that translates to being on time when you first start your first job. So and let's just be honest, the world that we live in, young people look up to people that they see often, whether that's on social media or that's on the television, and that tends to be athletes. So identifying athletes with the right image, role models that align with our mission that's a very important part of who we are as an organization.
All right, thank you. Next, for Batouly, the question for you is, where do you see W.A.K.E in the future, and what are your long-term goals for W.A.K.E?
Yes. So right now, I'm on this conversation. It's so amazing for a Boys and Girls Club. And I just remember, again, just every time I go to Guinea, it's just, I think God, this is for you, and gives me fuel to my fire. And I just remember, having a conversation with some of the girls, and they're like, well, how do we become, a better basketball player? And I was like, oh, well, go to the basketball courts. Well, we don't have that, run. We can't do that as girls. And so I had that was a conversation from 2017, and I still think about it every single day. And so for W.A.K.E right now, we've been working on a few virtual series. That's for our US based. But in Guinea, we were just able to secure some land to build the first indoor basketball court for 12 million, and a safe space for young girls to play and to dream. And that has been a lifelong dream for me. And we're in the process of doing that. And my plan, I went to boarding school, and that completely changed the trajectory of my life. And I think you have to take such a holistic approach when you're working with kids, and especially young girls within my community. And so in the long term, we're working to build an all-girls boarding school, again, the first of its kind in my country. And we hope that the center of this will be this indoor court and this safe space that we're working to build. So that's what it is, but it's continuing to empower, equip, and educate young girls all over the world in any way possible.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right. The next question for Derek. Have you considered possibly a career in politics as the mayor of Louisville or a congressman?
Oh man, I've heard that a lot. I don't want to limit myself. And I think what I mean by that is, if I put myself in any kind of category, I tend to take people won't listen to certain things that are reality more than they are political. And I've always tried to give the truth with these young men like I receive. So telling everybody everything's going to be okay when I know it's not, that's not what I'm about. So I always wanted to stay humble and stay real with the young generation. And I still go back to Tony, man, God just puts you where he wants you. If he told me to go there, I'm going. I hear people say it, but if he don't tell me to go and he keeps pushing me this way, that's where I'm going. I'm about to feed, we've closed, give computers out, 100 computers. I'm about to feed 48 families from Christmas now. So I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to do right now. So I've heard the political part, but if God don't send me to the ballot, I ain't going.
All right. The next question is for everyone. Should athletes and celebrities of influence, should they join pre-existing initiatives or create their own? We'll start with Batouly.
I had a feeling. Oh, have you said that? just a feeling. You know, I tried out so many different organizations, and I remember I kind of had an epiphany, and I said, I don't want to create the wheel. I just want to do my part to keep it spinning where I see fit. That's it. Just keep it spinning, keep it spinning. For people who are doing the work, and I was able to try, and I really actively wanted to partner with a lot of nonprofit organizations who are already stable within the community, who are doing the work, and supporting them because they know it, you know, way better than I do. And that was my initial intention. And there are a lot of people who do start nonprofit organizations when I think they could partner, but to each its own. And for me, I only saw the need to start a nonprofit organization when the work was so unique to this community. And I had been on the ground for 3 years, being able to research, join the community, see what they wanted and how that would be able to be possible. And that caused for the start of a nonprofit organization. But I would always tell every single athlete I talked to, even in college, you know, reach out just by saying, hey, I'm a college basketball student and I would love to learn more about your organization. Can I volunteer? Just to see experience. There's nothing that can, you know, trade experience. And so I would say go into any field that you want. That's such a powerful statement. People would open doors for you to get that and to be able to give back. So that's the first thing I would say, if it is necessary, but to each his own. And as long as you are giving in and sharing and being generous, I think that's the key.
All right. We'll go next to Tony. Pre-existing organization or start your own?
That's a tough question, but
for you, I know.
Listen, I mean, I think that athletes should find organizations that they're passionate about. Yeah. And then, but also, you know, when I get the chance to work with different athletes, you know, the one thing I always tell them is that it has to be about a legacy. Yes, it's great to partner with other nonprofit and organizations, but you need to look at creating a legacy that when you leave this earth, there's someone else in your family, maybe your children, that will continue that foundation, that legacy that you built, so that it's years to come. So I'm a big fan of creating a legacy, and then from when creating your own identity, your own foundation, and then partnering with another organization.
Okay, great. And then next, Derek.
My saying is leave more than your name. And what that does is create your own value. It's like Tony said and Batouly said, like, teach is your own. But I believe, and again, you can go find, but if too many chiefs in the room, you know, nobody's leading anyway. So for me, it's find out what you're good at and you're passionate. But I always, like you said, just leave more than your name. Even if it's with another organization, put everything you got into that. Even if it's you got 4 hours off on your off day, put that 4 hours predicated on that mission of what you believe in. But I started my foundation because I wanted to leave more than just me being a basketball player. So any athlete who's out there, leave more than your name. When you die, man, you should have something behind. And Muhammad Ali taught me that years ago. It's like giving me books to read. Like, I just couldn't be another athlete, and I refused to do that. And I think he taught me that, and just watching other people, it taught me a valuable lesson that I can't just die. I don't want my legacy to die when I die. I want it to outlive me. So I think every athlete should create a legacy and to build something of their own, even if it's with someone else. Put something with your legacy besides the name.
I like that a lot. All right, so Derek, we'll stay with you. If you had a chance to speak to your younger self, let's say 10, 20 years ago, what advice would you give them about your advocacy and your activism?
I would have told myself to buy a lot of land and to build a lot of places for we can live off the land for future. I'd have went back into the real life, like to raise cows, to milk, get spring water. If I could have told myself what I know now, I would have had everybody living on farms. Like, we might have been out there, but I would have been preparing for their own lives. They can go back into the city, but you know, to find land and to create value and to create a family. We've been broken families for generations, and I wanted to create families. So my younger self, I would have bought a lot of land and put people on it and try to teach them to live off the land and just try to dedicate myself to the old ways. And then you can always move into the new generations, but you know, finding land and living on it and creating our own culture, creating our own communities. Black Wall Street, I read up on that, talked about it. I just wanted to have that as our community, and hopefully we can do that. And that would have been what I told myself with my first check. I wouldn't have bought a nice car.
I definitely agree. All right, we'll go to Tony next. If you could give advice to your younger self from 10 years ago, 10 years prior. What would you talk about as far as advocacy, activism, and just general life lessons?
I would say just believing in yourself, number one. And you know, if I can go back, you know, I wish I could have just started earlier when it comes to service to others. I mean, I think now in life, as I continue to develop in this word called life and in the journey, it's about being a servant. And I would have had that opportunity at a younger age just to be a servant. I think that I find fulfillment when I give back to others and be around people who are like-minded, that have a heart of giving. And so if I could go back, I mean, I would have wanted to start a little earlier in life of being a servant.
All right, I like that a lot. And then Batouly, for you, 10 years ago is when you possibly had your epiphany, of course. So what would you tell that young girl about how to survive the next 10 years?
I would continue to tell her, and it's the first page in my children's book, you have everything you need to win. And you know, there's this phrase, you know, God doesn't, you know, call the qualified, he qualifies the call. I just butchered that, but you get the point. I would tell my younger self, you have everything you need to win, and be fearless in that pursuit, because what you're seeking is seeking you. And you're going to connect with amazing people who support this work, who understand this work. So like Tony said, I would have started much earlier, and just continue to just do the work and be kind and show up, and good things will happen, and stay faithful to that.
All right, I definitely appreciate that. All right, so we have time for final comments and summaries. And so let's start with Derek. And any final thoughts on using your platform on advocacy, on activism, and where you see us in 5 years, 10 years from now?
Yeah, I just like to thank everyone, Batouly, Tony, thank you guys for what you're doing, Michelle and everyone, Champions for Philanthropy, thank you for what you're doing. And Daniel, thank you for helping us today. I just think we just need to be kind to each other. And then we also need to pull each other up. I see people be successful and then they want to brag about what they have. They won't pull anybody up. And then they say, well, man, we can't stick together. Well, you start doing your part and let everything else happen. So for me, is I hope that we can look at our philanthropy and what we're doing and start pulling people up. I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life by myself. I want to start pulling people with me so we pull each other up. So the next 5 years, I just hope we've all connected and we've created a kindness brand for the world to see. And hopefully the world changes from what it is to the better part that we believe in. So my best thing is for us to stay together and keep building and just love each other.
All right, thank you. Batouly, the same question. Where do you see us in 5 years?
I think that was just so well said. Just more connected, more human. I think I hope we leave a little bit more, empathetic for one another, and that everyone is dealing with this thing called life. And I will never make it harder than it needs to be. But we're all here trying to experience this and leave on the best possible note that we can. And like I said, I always say, together we rise. Together we rise. And I always say, until we all win, none of us have won. It's not solid until, every child has a safe place to play, until we all feel represented and respected. And so, again, just leaving with that note of love, just deep respect, and connectedness and togetherness, I think is the key for anywhere we want to go as a more compassionate world.
All right, thank you. And then lastly, of course, Tony, final thoughts on where you'll see us in 5 years.
Absolutely. And just again, just want to echo what Derek mentioned and Batouly. It was so a pleasure being on this panel with you and Dr. Keller. Thank you for being the moderator, and thank you to Champions for Philanthropy, just putting this together and bringing us all together. I'll just sum it up. We all have the same amount of hours in the day, and I think we all have to find our calling in life. And for me, I hope in 5 years that this place, the world that we live in, is much better when it comes to the word love, that people can love each other regardless of race, gender, and then we can just do our part as individual human beings to make it better for the next generation.
All right, thank you, Tony. And then, of course, to everyone out there, I want to thank you as well for this opportunity to work with Batouly, Derek, and Tony. They are consummate professionals and the best at what they do in their respective industries. But as you can see, their industries are based on the community and philanthropy. And so at this time, we'll take it back to Alicia Powell and Michelle Mays, and the leadership at Champions for Philanthropy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kelly, Derek, Batouly, and Tony for that incredible discussion. We really appreciate you all sharing your time and perspectives. We want to give a special thank you to the members of the CFP team who helped put together today's event. And that's Kaylin Mehta, Aggie Dent, and Christian Tavares. And to our viewers, thank you again for joining us for this important conversation.
Please be sure to follow us on social media at Champions for Philanthropy to keep up with our work and to find out about future events. We are thrilled to be working with Batouly on a virtual basketball clinic featuring other powerhouse women this Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Be sure to head over to our social media for more information. Thanks again and have a great evening.